It's important. I think the day is important. It's important for me to be here, and it's the same reason it's important for all the other citizens that are here to be here is because that in a democracy, citizens control the political agenda. So we put Kyoto and environmental issues on the agenda, and we can take it off again. If we all decide we don't care and we don't show up to events like this, and we stop telling our politicians that it matters, they'll stop thinking it matters, and they'll move on. So that's why this sort of thing is really important. Well, it's important for a number of reasons. For one, it's an international contract. We made an international agreement, and we're not international outlaws, and we shouldn't act like them. It's also important because I was listening to Stephen Lewis speak about this a few weeks ago, and he talked about, there was a time when Canada mattered in the world, and nothing would resuscitate our national, our own national pride as well as our image in the world more quickly than taking a leadership role on environmental issues and in the climate crisis. So that's important internationally. And then I assume that, the question, why is it important to matter, sort of says, besides from the fact that we want to keep living on this planet. But seriously, I mean, it's an interesting question because there's a phrase that a friend of mine, Mike Nickerson, has been using, that we need to live on this planet as if we want to stay. And so that's a big part of it too. I think it's a great goal. I know that they're behind on it, which is unfortunate, but I think it's a great goal, and that I'm glad they're working towards it. Unfortunately, what the provincial government here is doing is going towards nuclear instead of coal. And nuclear is problematic because it's extremely expensive. It doesn't make any economic sense. We actually have an entire corporation in Ontario dedicated to paying down the debt of the reactors we've already built. And we haven't finished paying down that debt. We're talking about building new ones. So that doesn't make any sense. If we want to get off coal, we have to do it through conservation, efficiency, and renewables. And that's the only sustainable way. Is nuclear, we have to remember it's not sustainable either. There's a finite amount of nuclear fuel in the world. So I read a National Geographic article a year ago that said there was 50 years left of nuclear fuel. They went on to say that maybe we can stretch that to 100 years with new technology. But when you take into account the fact that it takes 12 years to build a nuclear plant, and that some of them run 300% over budget, and then you've got to refurbish them every few years, that doesn't sound like a good investment to me, just economically, and we haven't even talked about the environmental reasons yet. Well, one of the things that we've been doing, that I've been doing, and that Leader Elizabeth May has been doing, Leader of the Green Party, is asking people to get involved in democracy. And that means that it's got less of a negative connotation than politics. Politics is something that's tainted and crooked and dirty, but democracy is something that we all need to participate in and can participate in. And so that's what people are doing here today, showing up, writing letters. There's action that individuals can take, and I think we all understand those actions of driving less and making sure your home's insulated and those sorts of ideas. But then we also need government to take action, because there's only so much we can do as individuals, and we're capable of great things when we come together as a nation, as a society. We can build a national railroad, we can create affordable health care, we can do these amazing things that we've done in the past. And now we've got a government that's telling us, we can't do those amazing things. Sorry guys, we can't do it. That's not the role of government. We need leaders who can show us where we can go and take us there. And so that's why I think government needs a role. So that's why I encourage people to come involved in democracy. For some people that just means voting, and for other people that'll mean joining a political party or just supporting a candidate in between elections or during an election campaign. Those are important things that really make a difference. Well, we have a bit of, I guess younger people sometimes have a bit more credibility because they're the ones who have to live here the longest. so a lot of the time it is young people, it's children, it's people people who are 10 years old saying to their parents, I'm really worried. I'm worried about what kind of planet you're leaving me, and saying that to their parents and to their grandparents, and that's starting to really resonate. And so that's sorry, I'm distracted. This man's got a lot of emotion in his voice. So I think that's really starting to make a big difference, and a lot of our votes come from grandparents. We have a huge chunk. I mean, it's a bit of a cliche and not a myth. It's true that a lot of our support does come from youth and from universities and that sort of thing, but there's complementary. There's a lot of support coming from grandparents who are starting to become very concerned about the planet they're leaving their grandchildren. My grandfather sends me a few letters a week about how much trouble we're in and urging me to please take action. And Chris, you have to tell people to wake up, and people need to hear the Green Party's message. He started writing up with the Green Party on all of his letters and highlighting in green and on the outside of all the envelopes that he sends. So he's very concerned, and that's where a lot of our support's coming from as well. Strangely enough, it wasn't actually. I mean, I've always been interested in politics, and I always imagined I would be a candidate someday, but I didn't think it was going to be this soon. And what happened was, I watched the 2004 election, and I saw a lot of people trying to wrap themselves in the flag and declare that I'm more Canadian than that guy, and a lot of really negative campaigning from all sides, from all parties. I felt like the Green Party was one party that really stood out there and saying, you know what, we're about positive solutions. And then in the 2006 election, they actually put out a press release at the start of the campaign promising not to resort to negative attacks or use push polls or any of those sorts of less ethical political tactics. So those were actually the things that initially attracted me to the Green Party, was being part of a positive solution. Let's get over this bickering. Let's get over this negativity. We're driving people away from democracy. A politician's job should be to attract people to democracy, to bring them in, not to discuss them to the point where their children can't even watch Question Period because there's too much bad language and poor behavior, immature behavior. So that's what really got me excited, was to be part of a positive message of solutions and hope for Canada. Very positively. It's very encouraging that whenever I get a chance to actually speak with Canadians about what our platform is, start specifically talking about what ideas we have, they're always pleasantly surprised. A lot of people don't know a lot about the Green Party, even today. They still haven't maybe ever read our platform or heard a lot from us because we're not front and center in the media as much as some other parties. We're getting there. We're much more prominent now. But so whenever I have the opportunity to say, you know what, here's what we stand for, people start going, oh, you know what, this makes a lot of sense. This is making sense. And so I had that reaction over and over again in the last campaign, at people's doors and at all candidates' debates, from people I was running against. I was running against Bill Graham. There was one debate where he said the phrase, "I agree with Chris," 6 times in the course of just one debate. So when people start hearing our message, they really start to react and respond, and they're excited about it.